Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Murtala, Kwesi Pratt Jr. and others has also joined to criticize the behavior of the suspended Chief Justice Torkornoo. And I want you to join me listening to what they say about his press conference. This station still remains PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like and also share to other members to watch as well. Please click on the notification bell to keep you updated. Don't just watch and leave without subscribing. Please do subscribe for more videos. Thank you. Join me listening to what they said into detail.
Chief Justice herself engage in public banter with who we do not know. It becomes a profound worry to anybody, particularly those who believe in democratic governance and principles. I was not around when she held a press conference. I was attending a program somewhere on behalf of Ghana. Then I read on social media. So when I came back, I tried to find out what actually happened. And sometimes when you attend such programs, you don't even have the time to, you're looking at the meetings, the engagement, the speeches you have to make, and the negotiations you have to, engage in on behalf of Ghana. So by the time you get to your hotel, you are completely exhausted, and then the following morning you engage in that. But I was flabbergasted when she held the press conference, and the press conference ostensibly was to talk about herself. Now, I'm just going to pick 2 or 3 things she said at the press conference. She said she was searched and that she was not accorded the courtesies that ought to be accorded to a person of her caliber. I'm not too sure whether the Constitution says that where the security of this state matters, such courtesies are not necessary. If I go to the Flagstaff House as a cabinet minister, I go through checks. Anytime I'm going to Tamale and I get to the airport, I don't go through VVIP. I go to the airport, I remove my bags. In fact, there was an instance I got there and I wanted to remove my shoes. They said no, so I insisted, and then I removed my shoes, put it through, remove my watch and everything, because every Ghanaian is subjected to that. So I have never said because I'm a minister of state, and therefore if I get there, whatever is required to be done on any passenger who is going to board the flight, I should be given some special treatment. Even when you are traveling through and you are using the VVIP, your bag and everything will be scanned. You go through the scanner, you go through that. So I really don't know what she was expecting. More so, when the earlier communication from the presidency, the president is just a conveyor belt, as stipulated in Article 146. Who leaked the communication between the office of the president and her office? We're still looking for answers we do not know. And in all the arguments that have been made, not a single word or evidence of violation of any provision of the Constitution or any law in this country. Now, what shocked me also was the fact that she said that she had received threats. I don't know what kind of threat, but what I expect a Chief Justice to do, when you receive threats, you report it to the appropriate body, in this case the police, so that they commence investigation into the matter. So for you to hold a press conference and say that you have been threatened, by who? Who threatened you? I really don't think that those advising her are doing her any good. Frankly, I don't think they are doing her any good. And for her to even make references to what happened in the murder of the Supreme Court justices, and made reference to the fact that she was sent to a room, reminding her of what is the import, and said that she knew that part of the decision to murder the justices took place in that particular room. How reckless and irresponsible could she be? There was a commission to investigate the matter of the murder of the judges. Is that not the case? That woman never gave any evidence. And in fact, I remember when President Kufuor won the elections in 2000, the National Reconciliation Commission, these issues all came up as part of the reasons and evidences people were given. I am a young person. I can be of the age of her son. I was old enough at that time. And I guess she was old enough. So if she had information, why didn't she make the information available? And we are told by law that criminal acts, criminality doesn't have expiration date. And for her to do that, what message was she trying to put across? So if there was, which everybody condemned. And I don't think that, and people were actually found guilty, Amatefi, right? Yeah. And then executed for that murder. Is he telling us that there is so much information to this? So frankly, Sana, I don't want to belabor this issue so much, only to just ask that the woman should tell us the reason why she engages in some of these things. There are a lot of things that happen. My plea is that those advising her are not doing her any good. This one was done by private citizens of this country. And I guess there was a subtle attempt to bring in political parties into it. Unfortunately, it never got the currency that they wanted. And there isn't any evidence whatsoever that those people have anything in relation with at least the political party I belong to. So I think she should be quiet. Silence, they say, is golden. That could have even helped her matter. And last point, accusing and questioning the credibility and the integrity of colleagues Supreme Court justices on the bar. People she actually worked with. And I remember she famously stated that the law is the law. The law has always been the law. It is no respecter of anybody. Whether you are a Chief Justice, you are a Speaker of Parliament, you are a President, a Member of Parliament, a journalist, whoever you are, the law is no respecter of anybody. And that is why the law expects us to conduct ourselves in certain manner. And that if you fail to do so, the law will come after you. Maybe perhaps she thinks that she's no longer interested in the Supreme Court job. And frankly speaking, I think that the doors of resignation, I guess they are over. I mean, with that conduct, I agree with those who think that the conduct demonstrates someone who is absolutely unfit for the office of the Chief Justice of this country.
Mr. Osu.
Sana, good morning to you and our co-panelists and your cherry viewers. Sana, the truth of the matter is that I find it very difficult referring to the conduct of Madam Gertrude Isabe Rabba and Araba. Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Torkornoo as the Chief Justice. Because nothing she has done since this petition surfaced shows that indeed she qualifies to be referred to as a Chief Justice, and I mean every word of it. You know, when the petition was sent to the presidency, I think I was one of those, among those that said, look, negotiate your exit. Take a cue from Abe Fortas in the US. When as a Supreme Court judge, he was also, in fact, in his case, he had taken $20,000 from the Wolfson Foundation. And at that time, there wasn't any law in the US that mandated any Supreme Court judge who was given a gift to declare. But Congress said, yes, once you have taken money, they couldn't trust your credibility. He processed the situation and said, for the sake of the judiciary, I will resign. They knew Nixon wanted to get him out, to get a more conservative Supreme Court judge in there. But they said, look, I'm only one, let me resign, and let the judiciary be. So, on the basis of this, I advise that, madam, negotiate your exit. We have elders in this country who could have helped you out. At that time, some of our brothers from the MPP did not help the matters. That is the truth of the matter. Because everything we have been told in Article 146 says that the proceedings and everything to do with impeachment or removal of a CJ has to be done in camera. But you and I were in this country when we heard or saw Vincent as if we go to court. He that had not been petitioned, he went to court that the CJ had not received a copy of the petition. How did Vincent de Sefa get to know that the CJ hadn't received a copy of the petition? Because the CJ had leaked that information to Vincent Teko Asifa. As if that was not enough. The counsel for Vincent Teko Asifa was Godfrey Dame. Is that the case? The petition was given to the CJ. The matter became moot. And they submitted a supplementary or filed a supplementary motion that everything was unconstitutional, but they must stop everything, which was also dismissed by the Supreme Court. You see, if, like my brother said, if she was going to go down alone, that wouldn't be a problem. But this unwavering attempt to destroy institutions, the Chief Justice may think that she's only targeting the presidency and, for that matter, the government. But she's also hurting the image of the Council of State. In fact, she doesn't respect them at all. Because the Constitution is so clear that before you establish a prima facie case, it has to be done in consultation with the Council of State. 31 members of the Council of State, including former Chief Justice and Speakers of Parliament, President of the National House of Chiefs, a lot of chiefs on it, businessmen and so on and so forth. So is the Chief Justice telling us that all these people hate her and that all these people can be manipulated to behave in a certain way? So now the attempt to remove this CJ happened during the Akufo-Addo's regime. Remember the petition that was filed by Professor Kwaku Asare? Yeah. He raised fundamental issues. That the CJ was attempting to do something that was unconstitutional. That is nominating judges to the Supreme Court. What do you know in this country? Yeah. The president then, Nana Akufo-Addo, together with the Council of State, said they didn't see any questions that necessitated the removal of the CJ. He dismissed the petition. In fact, the president was so much concerned about why that petition had to be leaked. That was his focus. And that he was even looking at provisions within our criminal code, our jurisprudence, that could nail Professor Kwaku Asare, so that by now he will be languishing in his home for you attempting to remove the Chief Justice. He dismissed it. Now a new government comes to power. Someone petitions. A prima facie case is established. Committee is set up. You are asked to step aside. All these things are contained in our Constitution. And you say someone is hunting you. Then it is the people of this country that are hunting you, because whatever is happening is contained in the Constitution. And this Constitution has been accepted by the people of this country. So if there are any wrongdoings happening, you must be angry at the Constitution. And not individuals who are only doing what is expected of them under the laws of the land. When you yourself have said the law is the law. Now you see what she did the last time, Senna. If no contempt charges are brought against her, it has opened the floodlight. I bet you there is no case that will go to court that I will not comment on it. Take it from me. If contempt charges, if the woman is not cited for contempt, nobody can prevent anybody from commenting on a live case. Because that's what she has done. So lawless. So lawless. And we must not be counted on. I am very disappointed in the husband, honestly. Husbands are supposed to protect. He must not allow this to be continuing. What did she come to tell the people of this country as being violations? That she was searched. She was searched whilst attending to committee meetings. Hey, madam, So you were not supposed to be searched. What she has even done presupposes that the searching of her was very important. Can you imagine this woman going with cameras? She will go and video everything and edit and throw it into the system. So that is the one worry. The second worry has to do with the venue. Edu Lodge. Senna, you see where the High Court is? If I tell you what happened to my great-great-grandfather at that location, Nanedu. Anytime I am invited to this court and I remember what happened to Nanedu, I can't think far. But I'm compelled to go because I've been summoned. Everyone has an issue with the location, but go and speak your side of the story. You say location. So that one too cannot be countenance. Say the husband was not allowed to enter into the venue. The amounts of violations. And you wonder which provisions in the Constitution says that when you are invited before any committee of inquiry, your husband or your wife must be by you. That one too is another matter that she spends so much time on. Say the first day, his lawyer was not acknowledged. But what she failed to do, even if it's anything to go by, is that the subsequent days, was the lawyer allowed to do whatever he wanted? That one is absent. The Chief Justice tells us that in spite of the provisions in Article 146 or 144 thereof, that before judges are nominated to the Supreme Court, there has to be a consultation with the Judicial Council. So it's a practice, it's an established practice, that the Chief Justice, together with the Attorney General and the Ghana Bar Association, they give us the judges. Hey, she's exposing things. So you ask yourself whether the Attorney General, the Ghana Bar Association, and the Chief Justice, they constitute the Judicial Council. Its answer is an emphatic no. And this is supposed to be a violation. Then she takes on Daniel Ofori, clean. She doesn't respect the man at all. But you see, for her information, for the information of your viewers, Mr. I have said it here before. Daniel Ofori is not just Daniel Ofori, he's an investor. He has a huge investment in this country. So if you are talking about him, you must also be measured. Now, Daniel Ofori being matured, I'm sure you have read his response. He said he's not going to respond to the Chief Justice in spite of the clear lies or falsehoods told at the press conference. That is how things are supposed to be done. You are a Chief Justice. You are supposed to have led our justice system. You are supposed to have straightened the judiciary. The very person that is mandated to do that is now in the public space complaining of injustice. Then it marks of failure. That you don't have to be in that space. Look, Mr. Daniel Ofori raised 21 issues of misbehavior and 4 issues of incompetence. Go to the committee and explain your side. Now you are telling us that the committee, you are angry because the committee did not even give you a copy of the petition. So you ask yourself, which petition did she respond to the president? So she doesn't trust the president or the committee members because they could change it. Would it not benefit you if the president gave me petition A that contains issues to do with farming, and the committee is dealing with issues dealing with football? Who will lose? Would it not be the committee? These two must you come and tell us. She makes the point that she has received threats. Hey, madam, Torkornoo to receive threats and will keep quiet. It will never happen. Palpable falsehood. She told the people of this country without evidence. And at the same time that she was telling us that she received threats and then be lambasting the people of this country plus the government, at the end of the program, I saw two tall policemen offering protection to her. What a beautiful country. You go and speak your mind, and after police guides you. Are you not happy with that? So, Sana, the long and short of what the Chief Justice came to do was to appeal to the people of this country to beg for her to have her entitlement. I mean, that is the summary to what she did. But to say that, you don't have to go round in circles. Acknowledge that you goofed. Should have negotiated your exit, but if you have realized that where things are going is not favoring, there is a way to go around it. Because he said now it's not an option because of a decided case. And that you could lose all your entitlement. So you are going to fight to the end. No, let us do something about entitlement if that is the case. So that we will have our peace of mind. But now you are discrediting your own colleagues. From Justice Foreman to Justice Siedu, to even those that sat on your case. Because when you went to the Supreme Court, one of the relief that you were seeking was that this whole committee hearing has to be heard in public. Is that the case? They refused. Now you are in the public. It means you don't even respect that decision. When you yourself have told us that when matters are before any court, we have no business commenting about them, then you come and do this against what is stated in the Constitution. By now, she must be preparing herself to resign. But I would plead with this administration that if there are ways of, as it were, forgiving her wrongs, to look into the matter of entitlement, because that seems to be the case. I'm not the president anyway. That could be looked at. And other than that, the angle that she is trying to go, it will not help her. I'll end it here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And he referred to that statement by Mr. Daniel Ofori, who says, my attention has been drawn to a media engagement on 25th June 2025 by the suspended Chief Justice, at which she publicly discussed the contents of my petition for a removal as Chief Justice and the proceedings in respect of the petition. The Chief Justice is acting in clear breach of the provisions of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which requires the inquiry to be in camera. As a law-abiding citizen and out of respect for the constitutional process and the committee, I will not seek to go on the path of the suspended Chief Justice, not even to correct plain falsehoods in her statements. When it is constitutionally and legally appropriate to engage the public on matters regarding my petition and the process, I shall do so. Truth stands. And that's signed Daniel Ofori, who is one of the petitioners who have submitted a petition against the Chief Justice that have triggered Article 146 hearings that are currently being conducted by the committee. They are supposed to be in camera, but the Chief Justice gave us a taste of how she feels about how the committee is going about its work and the petition before the committee. Mr. Pratt?
Well, last Wednesday, the suspended Chief Justice invited the media for a press conference. And she announced to the world that she cannot be Chief Justice again. She gave us reasons why nobody, under any circumstance, should appoint a person like her as Chief Justice of this country. One, she demonstrated an incapacity to rise above her prejudice. She demonstrated an incapacity to come out, of a family history which has clouded her judgment and affected her emotional stability. I mean, anybody suffering from these symptoms must not be allowed to be Chief Justice. Because we expect that whoever is Chief Justice will be fair to all those who appear before her. This one is incapable of being fair to all those who appear before her. One of the major complaints is this, that when the sittings are taking place, something to do with the murder of Major Aqua took place there. And that Major Aqua was her uncle who looked after her. And because of that, she's emotionally traumatized. These are her words. So I ask, Justice, Her Ladyship, Lordship Torkornoo is sitting in the Supreme Court. And somebody appears before her, and the person is called Amatekwe. That person, ab initio, has lost his case. Ab initio. It doesn't matter how the case is presented, it doesn't matter the legal validity and so on. Simply being called Amatekwe, trouble. Lost your case. And this is what she is saying. Okay? It's not that somebody is saying, she is saying. It is obvious from what she's saying, from what she herself is saying, that anything which is remotely connected to the murder of the judges and the retired army officer shifts her balance. So you can count the thousands, maybe millions of things that have some connection with that regrettable development in our history. Okay? Now, don't you forget that the NDC claims its beginnings from the PNDC. And don't you forget that one of those who was executed for that gruesome murder was a member of the PNDC. So the hostility to the NDC is established. And perhaps this is a window to understanding why some decisions were taken by her as Chief Justice. And this may also explain how somebody like her was jumped over her seniors to become Chief Justice. This press conference was very, very useful. And indeed, I wish that she would organize another one. So that we can begin to understand the person we're talking about. She says something else, which is very interesting. One of the things which traumatizes her is the absence of her husband. That in tense situations, when her husband is not around, she loses it. Wow. Head of the judiciary of Ghana. So when there are all these complicated constitutional issues before the Supreme Court and she's sitting in court, she's presiding over the Supreme Court, you have to bring her husband. Because if you don't bring the husband, trouble. Look, she said these things about herself. If somebody had said these things about her, I would have been very angry with the person. Yeah. But these are statements that she's making about herself. That in times of tension, the husband has to be in the room. So when there was that dispute over whether or not the speaker could actually suspend or remove members of parliament, and it became a heated argument, major political issue, and she was sitting in the Supreme Court. Was her husband in the court that day? And if the husband was not in the court, how did that affect her? Unbelievable. You see, Sana, unfortunately today we don't have enough time. One of the other things that the suspended Chief Justice did was to display her exceptional lack of knowledge of the law. I mean, what she did to herself that day at the press conference was terrible. Look, me, I haven't gone to law school. I am not a lawyer. In fact, the only law we learnt was in the Institute of Journalism where we did press law. Yeah. So, but there's some basic things that even us, we know. We know, for example, that the law is the text of the law itself, the hardcore text of the law, in addition to what is referred to as precedent, decisions of the courts, especially decisions of the Supreme Court. The suspended Chief Justice did not know that the Supreme Court, at least on 3 occasions, has pronounced on the confidentiality, the in-camera hearing of Article 146 cases. She didn't know. Senna, she didn't know. She says she doesn't know that the law says that the proceedings has to be held in camera. She didn't know. She didn't know the law.
The law is the law.
My goodness. I mean, look, Senna, there are 3 cases which the Supreme Court has determined on this matter. And first one is Justice Derry versus Tiger Eye. You remember, you recall that. Second one is the Ajay Chum versus the Attorney General. And the third one is the Ghana Bar Association versus the Attorney General. Our suspended Chief Justice did not know. Unbelievable. And the worst part is the fact that the suspended Chief Justice is now holding a press conference, looking all of us in the face and telling us that the judiciary can be manipulated for political purposes. The judiciary, she just left.
She hasn't left.
Well, the judiciary she presided over. She is now telling us that it can be manipulated. Politicians can play games with the judiciary. So when she was sitting there as Supreme Court judge, what did she see? What did she do? And if indeed the judiciary can be so manipulated, is that not sufficient reason why we, the citizens of Ghana, must support every effort to reform the judiciary? Hey, Justice Isaba Torkornoo, why did she do this to herself? You know, this is something that she should have allowed her worst enemies to do to her. But she chose to do it herself. She actually expended resources to do this damage to herself. I can't believe it. Anyway, be that as it may, now that we know, now that she has told us that in the absence of her husband she cannot function, now that she has told us that even when she enters a place, the height of the walls have effects on her. You remember that Edu Lodge, the walls of Edu Lodge are too high. It frightens her and so on. Well, she decided to do this to herself. I really, really, honestly pity her. What can I say? We don't have enough time. Let's leave it here.
Thank you. Thank you. One thing we both agree on is that I want more of those press conferences. Yes. Anyway, so that was a matter of the CJ. So what I'll do is I'll do at least some 5 comments from those of you who are listening to us. Then we'll turn to the Israel-Iran matter, or Israel-US-Iran matter. This is Dennis Yakwete, who says he was so sad that no less a person at the CJ could violate Article 1468 of the Constitution in the manner she did. Regrettably, the MPP standing on the said constitutional violation demanded from the AG and the President to respond to the CJ's call without first condemning her conduct, to suggest as though the MPP was the brainchild of the said press conference. Why won't the MPP direct its concerns to the fact-finding committee for the removal of the CJ, or better still go to courts, as they always do when the CJ herself did not think it wise and respectful to address her concerns in writing and address to the President on the quiet, consistent with Article 1468. That said, and given the conduct of the CJ in the said presser, should she be cleared of any wrongdoings eventually, will she be able to go back to the Supreme Court and work with the same colleagues she appeared to have accused to be complicit in a ploy to remove her, or those colleague justices must resign to give way for her to function? I just can't fix it. That's Dennis Yakwete who sent that message. Thank you, Dennis. And then there's James K. Saba who says, a fowl even struggles if it's to be killed. So I'm not surprised about the attitude of the suspended Chief Justice. A comment about the murder of the justices clearly portrays the fact that she says she's an MPP member. Madam Torkornoo should stop lamenting and do the needful. James K. Saba join us. Hadi Pickfam says the suspended Chief Justice is trying to obtain public sympathy, which she doesn't deserve. Her stature as a lawyer, and she says one is using a veiled threat on her, is even problematic. How is she going to demonstrate same if she's ever asked to provide evidence? It is almost like telling the court that the issue before the court is spiritual. Courts do not deal with assumptions, rather hardcore evidence. The Chief Justice is just trying to be smart. At the rate she is dealing with the matter, any such threat would have been reported to the police. No amount of propaganda by the suspended Chief Justice will bring down the government of President John Dramani Mahama, inshallah. That's Hadi Pickfam who sent that. This one says, good morning, Senator. Bless you and your panelists. From Kucho, Mensha Zongo, Kumasi, please. About the CJ, I still don't understand her. Is she not a lawyer before becoming CJ? Well, if indeed she is not being a remote CJ, why is she making too much noise? She should act as independent, so we the Ghanaians will beg God to sympathize with her, not those in the MPP. And then the next says, Senator, to be told, clearly it looks like the Chief Justice's conduct has landed her in her current situation. But Senator, we all know there's a first time for everything, and some first time things open repetitive doors for other future issues. We failed to use an expose of our judges to sanitize the judiciary, but rather we said, let's think about Ghana's image. Always thinking about the international community whilst forgetting that it's the human behaviors that form the institution's image. The Chief Justice must be checked, and if found guilty, dealt with without mercy. And also we must see to it that our rooted political games is not what's pushing her out, and even look into some of the allegations she raised as we check her too. That's coming from Snet. As always, thank you. And then let me conclude. Courage from Ho Kokompero said, the simple question I want to ask is, does the employment letter given to the CJ by the former president more important and powerful than the Constitution? Because if I'm not mistaken, the CJ says she acted according to her employment letter. Courage sent that from Ho. Thank you very much. I wish I could go through more, but we are running a race with time. If you just join us, Mother of all talk shows, Alaji and Alaji, of course, live on Pan-African television. Thank you to those of you who are joining us on Facebook and also on YouTube. And of course, you can watch us on TV, and we are live on Radio Gold. Let's move to the matter of Israel versus Iran. When this week started, we didn't know how far it would go. But by the Wednesday when the CJ was addressing the press conference, there has since then been some uneasy ceasefire. Iran says, if Israel fire, we will fire. As long as they don't fire, we will not fire. That is the situation we have currently. Israel, a few hours after the ceasefire, was accusing Iran of firing a missile after the ceasefire. Iran says, we did not fire the missile. But if you fire in response to a missile we did not fire, we'll fire back. And so now we have that ceasefire in place. Israel has returned to what they've been doing for over a year now, beating down Gaza. Well, let's talk about that. And I start.
We really enjoy your participation on the channel. To all our cherished viewers, we once again say, God bless you, and we do urge you to subscribe for more videos. Like and also share. Thank you.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Ah nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.